Peace. This is Black Dot, author of Hip Hop Decoded and my latest offering, Urban Culture Decoded. Between now and the new year, this book will be $10 plus shipping and handling. It makes for a great Christmas, Kwanzaa, or holiday gift for a young or old person who loves to read. This book will go in depth into our entire culture, from hip hop to the grocery store, to the barbershop, to the liquor store. I advise you to get this copy between now and the new year, because then the price goes back up. It can be purchased at iDecoded, that's idecodeit.com, for a limited time only. Peace.
All right, welcome back to Urban X TV. It's Malcolm. We have the Black Dot in the building.
You already know what it is, King.
So we just listened to Dame Dash's response to Funk Flex, because he went on that rant a couple days ago on Dame Dash calling Lyor Cohen a culture vulture. He went in on the term culture vulture. So we wanted to get your thoughts, because you did an amazing breakdown on Dame Dash and the Lyor Cohen situation a few months back, so we wanted to, get
so this is kind of a revisited situation.
Yes.
Obviously, it's something that's irking somebody, because the conversation continues to come up.
Right.
First and foremost, I will never side with a Jew over a black man. I want to get that out of the way immediately. So people who have heard enough can turn it off right there. Peace, Dot. Appreciate that. Okay, especially one who's been entrenched in our culture for so long that has not added anything to it but has taken away. Okay, I think Flex has misunderstood what a culture vulture is, because he's stressing the amount of money given to Rockefeller to start their venture. I'm pretty sure him and his constituents made 300 times that amount. Okay, so let's not act like he saw talent and out of the humbleness of his heart, he decided that's not the way this operation works in any capacity. There's something for something. And usually we're on the short end of that stick. All right? So a culture is our way of life in every capacity. The way we talk, the way we walk, the way we think, the music we create, everything is built into what we call a culture. And because we have been displaced here in North America, right? We have to create a gumbo culture. So it's not a standard type of culture. It's a new age type of culture that includes a little bit of everything. Our Moorish history, our Hebrew Israelite history, our Nation of Gods and Earth history, our Christian history, or our jazz history, our scat, our bebop history. All of this coming together to create a new kind of culture that doesn't maybe live up to the dictionary standard of what a culture is. So I hear a lot of people say hip hop's not a culture. Why isn't it? It's economically based. It's religious based, meaning whatever religious you down with, as long as you can bring the heat, we respect that. You know what I mean? It has its own street codes, stop snitching, this, that. You can now be birthed in hip hop and not need any economic or knowledge outside of hip hop, because hip hop, the fifth element, as Africa Bambaataa always taught, was knowledge, right? Now, knowledge for the Nation of Gods and Earth is one, right? But if knowledge is power, that's the fifth of the degrees in the Nation of Gods and Earth. So one can become five in a unique situation. That's just my spin on that. So what happens is, since the beginning of time here in America, these Jewish individuals have found a way to leech on to us, to take them and propel them to greater heights. Why are all of our greats die broke, but their lawyers and accountants die rich and are able to propel their families to greater heights? And Flex, it's never been about money. This ain't about, they print the fucking money. Let's be clear on that. The Rothschild, they make money out of thin air. Give you a $10,000 credit out of thin air, and you got to pay that shit back with real money, hard labor, and the whole 9 yards. So we understand there's a trickery with the money system. So this was never about money. Some may say, well, Jay-Z it made $900 million, and Lyor Cohen is only worth $100 million, so Jay-Z must be winning. Not necessarily. How many of the people behind the scenes, these Jews are not in front of the camera. They don't want to be in front of the camera. They choose to remain anonymous. A part of the science they teach of the elders and protocols of Zion, that may be in your library, I'm not sure, because I read that so long ago, teaches them how to manipulate the Goyim, which we are. We're all dispensable to them. And don't give me this bullshit about, oh, they're very friendly. Don't mean they're not out for a cause. And Lyor Cohen, or Lyor Cohen, is the prime example of that. All right? I don't see no Jewish rappers besides maybe Beastie Boys, no Jewish producers, excluding Rick Rubin. I don't even consider Rick Rubin a culture vulture because he was on the boards. At least he was on the boards. He couldn't match the hip hop vibration needed, in my humble opinion, to take Run DMC beyond that rock sound. But he's the one who introduced them. But he was at least on the goddamn drum machines and in the sessions trying to participate in the culture. And even he left, Lyor Cohen. Goddamn. Another Jew said, well, I can't even fuck with this Jew, right? Because of the debauchery and the treachery involved with that, all right? And just because a house, the slave master, take a few field niggas and bring them in the house does not negate the fact that he is a slave master. So Flex was coming from a point that I did not understand. I clearly didn't understand, but then I went back to the beginning of his conversation and he started saying, well, I was originally going to just show up to the YouTube event, and then I asked, could I get on the board?
He was going for free.
I was going to work for free. Why do you have to tell us that? You know, I was just going to show up and work for free, and then, you know, what was who he trying to gain favor with? That you now working for free. It's obviously you trying to establish some kind of relationship with Lyor Cohen. You know what I mean? And I was going to work for free. And then I said, just give me something. We didn't need that part of the conversation, nigga. What the fuck that got to do with Culture Vulture?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then he decided to go in on the family tree. And the people he mentioned weren't culture vultures. You know what I mean? Unless you're trying to say, insinuate Jay-Z and Dame were part of their own culture vulture by not mentioning certain individuals. Dude, they're people that help you along the way. You probably can't mention every single person. So I didn't get offended by that, but it had nothing to do with the initial conversation of culture vulture. You know what I mean? And the vultures are the ones that eat off the carcass, basically. Who's the carcass? The dead people. Who are the dead people? Us right now. All right? These Jews study hard. They come into this country. First of all, they're not even Jews. I don't even want to get in all that. They fucking Khazarians. They come from Russia. And, you know what I mean? A whole nother story with that. You know what I'm saying? Read an empire of their own that is in your library. How they created Hollywood and used us. You know what I'm saying? The Birth of a Nation and all these fucking movies to deflect away from them and make us seem like we're the lowest of the low and pit us against regular white people. Jews have been, you got to read The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. I'm not going to keep beating you in the head. That is in the library.
I know that one.
Okay, that's in the library. And it shows you that they were there the entire time making money off of our situation. What they did was, we became the raw material, or let's say you picking cotton, but you don't have the machines to manufacture and brand and you know, promote it. So they sold up all the avenues in which our raw talent could be manifest on a greater scale. So we had to go to them. Okay? So look at black people as this raw material. We magical people. We already know this. You know what I mean? But if we create something, and I always speak about us being able to go up to the astro and higher realms to bring these things down, and all they can do is wait there with their baskets for the droppings, the doo-doo droppings and shit, you know what I'm saying, to come and try to race amongst their people and make something out of where they can't reach. Everything about us is magical. Who else could be dropped off, lose their language, their religion, their culture, their God, everything about themselves, and still thrive but us? So we are the original Jews. If you want to get biblical and talk about a lost people ousted from their, you know what I'm saying, homelands, who had to join forces, who were tortured and all, that has to be us. But they have tried to mimic that story. You see what I'm saying? And by them trying to mimic the story, it's one thing to mimic the story as if they are the chosen people, but they have to stay close enough to the original chosen people and make sure we don't wake up, right? You can't pull the greatest lie off in the world unless you continue to keep the original people distracted and you know, moving in different directions so that you may live out the lie. It's all an illusion. You know what I mean? And no disrespect to the Holocaust, I don't want to hear about how many people we lost. It's not even close. That shit y'all went through was like a fucking school fight compared to what my people have went through. And for my Moorish brothers and sisters and Israelites, I understand our history is complex. And I'm only speaking of a fragmented aspect of it. So I don't know, I don't want to shit on the Moors or the indigenous people who were here, but we all went through some form of post-traumatic slave syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Right. To some degree in this country where we're not functioning at our highest vibration. So when Flex is going to tell me that Lyor Cohen is not a culture vulture, then what the fuck is he? What has he added to the culture?
I admit I was taken aback by Flex's his rant, because it's just like, what are you trying to gain out of this? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was a little odd to me.
Just a little odd for you to, you know, finally say, I gotta deal with this, man. We gonna deal with this because people helped you. Yeah, people help us, and people, the same people who are reaching out to help us now, have slaughtered us. So should we forget about the slaughter because now they putting their hand out, and they not putting their hand out in good faith? Flex, stop that shit. You know how much, if Jay-Z is worth 900 million, how much has he made for these Jews? How much? An unsurmountable amount. Let's be clear. Jay-Z is the illusion. That 900 million, we're going to talk about that later on our podcast, is a fucking joke. And that's not a knock on Jay-Z. He's walking his path. He's trying to set a precedent of what it could be. He has become a reference point. That's why I chose the name Black Dot. It is a reference point to greater things. My job is not to teach you all of these things because I don't know all of these things. I may only have a reference point that you may say, that's interesting. Now I want to see where this goes. Then it's on you to, you know, go within that black hole, that black dot within yourself and study higher. Right? That's always been, that's why I chose the name. When it was broken down to me by Dr. Richard King, I said, that's the perfect name for, you know, what it is that I do. And hip hop being a smorgasbord of all things. There's no rules in hip hop. If it's dope, if you can use jazz, if you can use opera, if you can use scat, whatever you can use, when we hear it, we go, oh, Jay-Z used Annie. Right? That shit was dope. Peace to the 45 King who produced it. But you understand my point? So there are no rules in what we do. So Lyor Cohen has been in you know, the industry, and they want to talk about, yeah, he was a road manager for one. It's, who gives a fuck? These people have long-term intentions, and they will plant themselves here for 30 to 40 years to get the job done of their people if that's what it takes. And it's not about money. I'm getting back to that. They are more trying to cut off the spiritual essence of who we are. They're more into making sure the image of who we are doesn't connect to our antiquity. You know what I'm saying? Right. They're trying to, so it's bigger than the money. The money is the byproduct of just the work that they're doing. They're sorcerers, right? And they'll see you as a goyim. And I mentioned in Urban Culture Decoded, they create a goyim out of you, or they spot you and go, hey, that's a nice goyim. He can rhyme, do all this shit, fix you up, give you a few dollars, and you take care of his family for 5 generations. You know what I'm saying? You become a talisman, a ghetto urban talisman, or a 6'9" dude who's having trouble in his neighborhood. So let me be the good Samaritan and take him out of that environment. And he will feed my family forever. It's like finding a little fucking puppy, right? You find a puppy and you feed him, he's gonna be by your side forever. You know what I mean? So it's very similar. So when we just look at it, we can't just talk about, the money that's being passed, because all of them are robbing people in the industry.
Right.
What was Dame Dash's intention when he got in? Talk to me. He was trying to take that shit over, right? Let's be clear. He wasn't trying to, he wasn't trying to do none of that shit. He may have tipped his hand a little too quick, right? Because they were moving money hand over foot, and maybe the illusion of more power than he thought he had could have played a role in it. But he was trying to say, I don't need you Jewish people who do not understand how my people live. And that's when he tried to get X-pereince and Irv Gotti and Sugar them to say, let's just take over the distribution. Get this shit really popping, right? So Dame Dash's initial everything was boss man shit.
In his response to Flex, he said, Flex thinks like a slave, I think like a boss.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And then he said, you've been there all that time and ain't been promoted. It's like you've been at the cash register for 30 years, right? And you ain't the program director yet. Look at the word program director. So obviously they're choosing a set of songs every day with a specific vibration brought to you in the 440 frequency to send out a message to make sure that there's a cap over the planet in consciousness. And our music, when left in its natural state, is magic, and it has to go through all these goddamn filters and all of this shit so they can process it so it doesn't have the same impact. And then, of course, the type of music that they're choosing, that's not by accident. Look what they did in the movie industry, and every movie is important. It's another book I read, What Dreams May Come. I think that's the name of the book. It's an amazing book, and it speaks about movie magic. We all know this, how elders taught us about all of this stuff and how important image is and how important sound is. And those who sit on top of that know what's in a movie and know the potential of a particular artist and say, all right, let's get rid of this. I keep preaching it. I've been preaching it for 20 years. Right. Look at what we had in 88. Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubians, X-Clan, Public Enemy, KRS-One, all of these groups, native tongues. So when you want to know about the unknown, you study the known. Imagine if left alone the natural progression of that. Once we got a hold of how important the platform for us to speak positivity to our people was and how we could galvanize the people, because now we had a network. This was the beginning of using sound wave and video image as a network to connect with brothers and sisters all around the country. It became a new underground railroad. So when they said the revolution would not be televised, not necessarily so. At least we can activate the warriors, and now I can speak to people all the way across the country through my video, through my music. So they started getting their video directors. Let's talk about it. Right. Their video directors who understood image and these little agents that they had to start portraying certain images, quell that shit down. Then they had their meetings and decided, okay, this is bigger than what we thought this was going to be. These people, we can't kill them. They continue to take slop and shit and make something of it. That's what we do. That's what hip hop was in its purest, rawest form, right? Nothing. And we said, whoa, this is something. And then once we started, and there they were, the whole time, okay, so you got to go to them. They own all the record companies. So I don't care how raw it is, if you want to reach these levels, we are the gatekeepers, the gatekeepers. We are here to make sure you have to come through us. And then if you decide to start your own independent label, that shit was cute. We still hold the distribution, right? So, and then you're going to independently distribute your shit. That's cool too, but it'll only be a few of you niggas who can figure that out. Master P and Sir Mix-a-Lot. The rest of you niggas don't want money. Y'all want fame. Right? So we hold the fame. We hold the image of making you appear better than the rest of your fucking people. That's who the Jewish people or the Khazarians are. You know what I mean? And so they began to understand this, and then that's when you had all of these groups that was anti all the shit I just spoke about.
Right.
Anti all of that. And that's what we're still going through multiple phases. It's the same thing. You will never see that movement again. Unless it's pure underground and we boss up. We gotta boss up. If we boss up, we good. We need to stop allowing the fucking bag to be everything. If the bag is all it's about, then there's always gonna be somebody else like Flex to step up and defend Jews. And defend the very culture vultures who have sapped and sucked all the energy out of our community. Now the reference point becomes the bullshit you hear. So now the young generation, the 7 to 12-year-old who's trying to now manifest himself, who reaches out for reference points, has that bullshit to listen to. And what does he do? He masters the bullshit. Come on in. Right? As opposed to, damn, when I used to battle or think about battling, because I battled Rakim. I battled Big Daddy Kane. I battled KRS in my mind. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, if I ever see that nigga, or Lord Finesse, or Percy P and the BX, ooh, this is what the shit I'd say. Because they were putting out reference points. You know what I mean? Now, look at the reference points.
Right.
Look at the way our women act. Look at the way the brothers treat the women. Right? The whole 9 yards. This is not by accident. The unseen hand is at work. And as long as these niggas, these cool niggas who want this money, are willing to take the bag and wear a dress and do all this shit, we at war. Because they have a machine behind them. They have a Jewish conglomerate behind them that's going to make sure that that image reaches. Now it's digital. Now it's online digital, and they own all that shit too. Let's be clear.
Right.
Zuckerberg and all that old kind of shit. All of them are in on this shit to capture the minds and make sure that the spiritual energy that can lift us and get us out of here through our music, our dance, our writings, our art, our fucking, our getting high, all of these things in the gumbo is what makes us who we are. So I never throw the baby out with the bathwater. So stop telling me about these young people getting high. We used to get high too. I heard the dudes who created the fucking Marvel comic books were all on mushrooms. Go figure that shit out. Why? Because they needed to reside in another dimension to bring that shit back. To bring those characters and shit back. Now, I'm pretty sure they wasn't fucking around getting high all day,
right.
Killing yourself. That's not what we're talking about, right? So now you have Lyor Cohen, who's proud to push Young Thug and the rest of these dudes who, with the Percocets. You saw him on Hot 97. Was that Hot 97 or the Breakfast Club?
Ooh.
Lyor Cohen.
Breakfast Club.
Oh, he was on the Breakfast Club. He made no qualms about it. He is now in a position to say it like that because there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
I believe he's fucking Israeli Mossad. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a fucking agent who was put in place to do what he does. I can't prove that, but I do think that, right? I think all of these Jewish teachers who wind up in the ghetto teaching our babies are here for a reason. You mean to tell me there aren't enough Jewish communities that you can go to and teach? That's why I always say the child is looking at the teacher. Why are you here? Why are you here? You do not understand my experience in any form, shape, or fashion. Right? But here you are, a white female, in most cases, Jewish teacher, trying to teach me about my history, or are you here to make sure we never get off the ground? See, we got to change our perception of what we think agents are. These people study all year round the Talmud and these books that teach them that they are the chosen ones and they can do whatever they want with anybody who is not off cut from their cloth. Okay? Anything they want. And they can find people, and because they run the media, the newspaper, the music industry, the fashion industry, the movie industry, they're the gatekeepers. And until we figure it out, we no longer need that shit. Let that shit go. Right? when integrity becomes important again, honor, respect, bossing up.
Right.
Once that is back on the forefront, so that's why I have a certain amount of respect for Dame Dash. Never met him a day in my life. Is he perfect? No, none of us are. You know what I mean? But he didn't come in to play no fucking games. He came in and looked around and realized you fuckers over here are not needed anymore. We figured this out. We got the artists, we got the producers, we have the promoters. I can talk to y'all like shit because y'all not needed. And they said, oh, this is definitely the one that has to go because Jay-Z is the one we trying to keep. He's the one a little bit more docile, so to speak.
He's the talent.
He's the talent as well. So that's not a knock on Jay. Jay played a longer game to get where he went. Now Jay-Z sounded more like fucking Dame Dash. Ain't that some shit? Right? You know, he's reached the level where he feel he can now, but Dame Dash was saying that from the beginning. You know what I mean? And I do understand that it's the chess game, not checkers that we play, and maybe Dame just tipped his hand maybe a little too early, you know what I mean,
right.
on what his intentions were, but that should be all of our intentions. When you work for somebody, you should be looking around, understanding, how do I do this shit for myself?
Right.
Or you get some people who just go to work 10, 20 years and then ask them, what does your company do? I don't know, I just show up and do my job. Whoa, you've been there 10 years and you don't know the functionality of the place you work for? That's a slave mentality. You know what I mean? So I don't care what you do. Start looking around, even if you working at Burger King. What day do they drop, make the food deliveries? When is the cash? How do you know how much food? You need to be asking questions because you might find yourself the manager one day, right? And then all of a sudden you get your chips up and now you can open up your own spot. Hopefully a little bit more healthy than McDonald's, but whatever. But you understand my point?
Yeah.
Don't spend your life, and that's all Dame Dash is telling Flex. Dude, you been there how long? You been on the cash register how long? Yeah, I mean, you too old to be fucking talking like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, Flex, yeah, I get it. We all grew up in a certain era where we had that swag. It's time to, and you talking to these fucking kids at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Leave them kids alone, right?
Right.
Now, I give you credit, Flex. You on the turntables. You made yourself relevant longer than I expected. You know what I mean? So you found a way, or you just a goyim for Hot 97, and when the Jews is done with you, it's nothing personal. Right? So let's be clear with that. A Culture Vulture has multiple missions. It ain't always about the money. It's to make sure that we don't expand and reach our true spiritual height because they're faking like they're us. You know what I mean? And too many of our great artists have died broke. You know what I'm saying? Or some weird way the Jewish manager owns the fucking royalties, and you know what I'm saying? And shit like that. And it becomes disgusting. Right. Any questions?
Nah, you cooked that one.
Okay, so let that be said. This is the Black Dot. This is my story. No, that's the how I said it. This is the Black Dot. These are my chronicles. Yeah. This is my story. And I'm sticking to it. Facts. Forgot my own shit.
Well, this has been Urban X.
You already know.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
We need it.
We definitely did. We appreciate all the love. We really do. So, with that being said, peace.
Peace.